My name is Maya. I'm 32 years old, living in Chicago, and I've worked in corporate marketing for nearly a decade. If you'd met me a few years ago, you'd have said I was one of those annoyingly optimistic professionals, always early to work, always smiling, always ready to help the team. I believed that effort and honesty were everything. That good work always gets noticed. That bosses were mentors, not manipulators. But then I met Evan Harper, my manager at a marketing firm called Silverline Dynamics. He was charming, confident, and knew how to make people feel seen. For a while, I thought I'd found a leader worth trusting. Until I realized he wasn't mentoring me. He was gaslighting me slowly, systematically, and almost beautifully. This is the story of how my confidence was torn apart piece by piece, and how I turned the tables so completely that even HR had no choice but to take my side. I used to think I was good at my job, not perfect, but solid, the kind of employee who double-checks everything, shows up early, and keeps things organized. Evan seemed to like that about me at first. He'd praise my presentations and meetings, compliment my attention to detail, even joke that I made his job easier. But one morning, during a client review, everything changed. Evan discovered that our campaign data had errors, big ones. He acted shocked, disappointed even, in front of the entire client team. Afterward, I checked the files. Every number was perfect in my version. Then I noticed the metadata. The document had been edited after I submitted it, by Evan. I brushed it off as an accident, but the next week, it happened again, and again. It wasn't an accident, it was a pattern. The manipulation started. Small comments about my focus, my reliability, my energy. "You're not as sharp lately," he'd say. "You sure you're keeping up?" Soon, the remarks turned into public humiliation. He'd CC senior staff in emails highlighting mistakes that weren't mine. Then he'd show up at my desk with a condescending smile. "Don't take it personally, Maya. Just trying to help you grow." But what he was really doing was destroying my confidence. I started second-guessing every task, staying late to recheck my work, even losing sleep replaying conversations in my head. And it worked. I began to believe maybe I was the problem. 3 months later, we had our quarterly review. Evan presented evidence that I'd sent out an incorrect client budget, claiming it caused a $25,000 error. The director frowned. The room went cold. I sat there frozen until I remembered something important. I hadn't even been in the office that day. That was the moment I realized if I didn't fight back, he'd destroy me completely. So I decided to do what he didn't expect: stay quiet and gather proof. Every night after work, I saved everything: files, emails, timestamps. I built a private archive showing exactly when and how he was editing my work. He'd change numbers, delete slides, and rename documents. I logged every modification in a spreadsheet with version histories and screenshots. By the end of 2 weeks, I had an airtight case showing that Evan wasn't just careless, he was sabotaging me intentionally. And now, I just needed the perfect moment to strike. Evan scheduled a major client presentation and insisted I handle it alone. He was setting me up to fail again. But this time, I uploaded 2 versions. *1 clean correct version, hidden and renamed. *1 editable version I knew he'd tamper with. He fell for it. I watched the metadata change the night before the meeting. The next day, as he smirked in his chair ready to watch me crumble, I calmly said, "Actually, before we begin, I noticed some discrepancies in the data that was sent out. I'd like to clarify using my backup." I clicked my screen and displayed both versions complete with timestamps and user logs. The clients stared. The director's face froze. Evan turned white. The room was dead silent. After the meeting, he stormed up to me in the hallway. "What the hell was that, Maya?" "Just transparency," I said quietly. "That's what you've always encouraged, right?" That night, I compiled everything: my folder, version logs, his emails, and a copy of the client's thank you note praising how I handled the confusion. Then, I sent it all to HR, the director, and the VP of operations. Within 24 hours, HR called me in. They didn't just listen, they looked terrified. They'd been protecting him for years without realizing he was their liability. In the following days, HR began discreet interviews. It turned out 2 other employees had quit after similar issues with Evan. By the end of the week, HR sent an all-staff email. Effective immediately, Evan Harper is no longer employed at Silverline Dynamics. No farewell party, no explanations, just silence. When I got my next paycheck, it came with a letter from HR thanking me for professional conduct under duress. They even offered me his position senior account manager. But honestly, that wasn't the real victory. The real win was walking into the office without feeling small anymore. Evan's downfall spread quietly through the company. Nobody spoke his name out loud, but everyone knew what happened. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. Gaslighting is psychological warfare. It's designed to make you question your worth until you self-destruct. But what he didn't expect was that the same meticulousness he mocked in me would be the weapon that destroyed him. I didn't scream. I didn't lash out. I just proved him wrong on record. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic. It's documented. He tried to convince everyone I was incompetent. But in the end, I convinced everyone he was a fraud. And that's the kind of revenge that doesn't just feel good, it stays permanent.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one on the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.